Estamos acostumbrados a trabajar duro, a sudar, a sacrificarnos. El trabajo es dolor. Cuando el trabajo no es dolor, la gente dice, there's something wrong with that. La gente latina dice, ay Dios mío.
¿Qué tal? Yo soy Alex Orita, esto es La Corbata y aquí hablamos del negocio del diseño y del diseño de negocios. Déjame hacerte una pequeña introducción de lo que estás a punto de ver. Esto es una charla que hemos tenido José Caballer, Keone Chong y yo de cómo vender un producto que no sea sumamente caro, pero que requiera compromiso por parte del comprador. ¿A qué me refiero con esto? Pues que si yo vendo un curso, por ejemplo, mañana y lo vendo muy barato, seguramente mucha gente lo compraría y poca gente lo pondría en marcha. Sin embargo, si lo vendo demasiado caro, sí, seguramente la gente que lo compre le va a sacar el máximo partido, pero estaré perdiendo muchísimas ventas y a lo mejor caigo en la trampa de crear un negocio que no es sostenible. Entonces vamos a entrar en detalle en eso, de cómo monetizar nuestro verdadero valor como diseñadores en redes. Y esto también tiene mucho que ver con la energía que supone crear contenido en redes, especialmente si te grabas en un vídeo como este. Yo lo he escuchado muchas veces decir al cómico Ignatius Farray que los cómicos, en general las personas que se suben a un escenario para entretener, son chamanes, son manipuladores de energía, reciben una energía del público, la transforman y la devuelven en forma de risa, en forma de llanto, en forma de enfado. Entonces, como manipuladores de energía, que no es una cosa espiritual, aunque José Caballer es una persona muy espiritual, pero en realidad se reduce a ciencia, pues eso, tenemos que aprender a cómo gestionarla, cómo redirigirla, cómo usarla a nuestro favor. Y con Keone ahondamos un poquito más en el problema que ofrecen las redes sociales, que básicamente si tienes 30.000 seguidores en Instagram es imposible que los conozcas a todos. Y por eso hacen falta soluciones que filtren a los que te siguen por compromiso. El Patreon de La Corbata es precisamente eso, al tener que pasar por una plataforma de pago, el compromiso se aumenta, porque de esta forma tienes un trato más cercano con aquellos clientes que verdaderamente aprecian lo que haces. A estas alturas no creo que haga falta presentar a José y a Keone, pero bueno, si quieres saber más de ellos y de lo que están haciendo en The System, te dejo aquí abajo un link a su canal. Recordarte que esta charla es casi en su totalidad en inglés, por lo que intentaré que YouTube añada los subtítulos de forma automática y espero que estén bien. Sin más, me retiro, te dejo con la charla, que la disfrutes. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás?
Aquí, despertándome, acabo de caminar a los perritos, hablando de NFTs con un vecino que es artista y es diciéndome, ¿qué es esto de NFTs? Y yo le estaba explicando lo que era Ethereum, lo que era blockchain, que hay que comenzar desde el principio y explicar la historia de blockchain.
Yo todavía estoy intentando entenderlo, o sea que...
Es importante porque es parte de la historia del
Mucho.
sistema, es parte de la historia de Ponte la Corbata.
Totalmente, sí.
¿Cómo estás tú?
Bien, mira, justo estaba argumentando un poquito lo que vamos a hacer aquí en los directos, que a mí me parece buena idea ponerlo dentro del marco de como de las mentorías, ¿no? Matar dos pájaros de un tiro.
Perfecto.
Y que...
Haznos preguntas que te ayuden a ti y entonces así ayuda a la comunidad entera. There's Keone.
Hey, Keone.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going?
Great, man. Great. Glad to be here. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I was telling Jose that I think these live streams are a great opportunity to do my mentorship with you guys, so the whole community can be part of that as well.
Yeah, building in public, man. It's the new wave.
So I wanted to talk about, today I have a question about something that Jose mentioned the other day, which is price tolerance. I've been thinking about that for weeks. I think we talked about this about like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And you guys mentioned about, we were talking about the prices that I should have for you know, Spanish speaking audiences, because it's not the same for the USA and other countries. So I remember, Jose, you mentioned that $200 is like the sweet spot for the US. And how do I...
It's a global sweet spot.
Okay, it's a global sweet spot. And how can I perform, like, experience is a horrible word, but how can I find that sweet spot for my audience? Because I want to offer something that is not for everyone, that only those that really want to change and really want to do the work are going to, you know, to take advantage of the product I want to sell. But at the same time, obviously, I want to make money. I don't want just to sell three units of whatever I'm selling.
So some thoughts on that, and I'll just kind of kick off the conversation. And there's a phenomenon that is happening right now with courses where people are purchasing courses and they're just purchasing courses. It's like buying books, you know, it sits on a shelf
Yeah.
or it sits in your Gumroad or it sits whatever in your library and you never really have the time to really dive into it. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's sort of what you're alluding to. You know, you want to make sure that your audience, when they make the purchase, that it's significant enough of a purchase where they have to invest in it. They have to go through the work.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, you know, that generally means that you're probably going to be on the higher budget tolerance for a lot of people. But that also means that the return that you get, you know, the feedback that you're going to get from your audience, because they invested, because they committed, that they're going to have more value out of the course,
Hmm.
right? Does this all sound correct?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
And, well,
Go ahead, Jose.
he asked a very specific question. How do I test it?
Yeah.
So I'll answer the question from how the future and how I tested it at the beginning. You know, I started my first course at like $1,000, right? And people bought it. It was a small amount, but it was called Agency in a Box. Era todo lo que necesitabas para correr una agencia. Los
Hmm.
contratos, todo. Y si te das cuenta de los productos al principio de The Future, contratos, todo eso, sales pitch, todo eso, ahora él comenzó a vender los pedazos separados del
Yeah.
Agency in a Box Kit. Y algunas personas los compraron y mandaban feedback de que, mira, esto está bien. Como se estaba haciendo el delivery, cuando el file bajaba, like Keone was saying, se abría un montón de files y la gente lo usaban o no lo usaban. No era un course, era como que un poquito de course y después un montón de recursos. Que la verdad lo que pasa y te explico la mecánica y después llego a cómo hallar el precio. La mecánica de encontrar cosas como contratos y proposals y ejemplos de cómo hacer su design practice, su práctica de diseño. Todo eso en el pasado, lo que uno hacía, uno le preguntaba a alguien, hey, brother, can you give me an example of a proposal? En el mundo profesional aquí americano, así es que se usa, todo el mundo se da los recursos. Si yo tengo un buen amigo que trabaja en una agencia, él me manda el proposal de su agencia y yo digo, oh, así que ustedes lo hicieron, cool. Pero eso es todo en secreto, nadie habla de eso. Y ahora que todos los cursos están available, etcétera, todo el mundo está vendiendo algo y es algo diferente. Pero la manera como yo lo hice a $1,000 y después comenzamos a bajar el precio con discounts y al fin llegó como a 400 y pico a que Cristo le puso ese precio. Pero cuando tú haces el research del business model de online information, $200 is the tested and like approved way, but you can do it above that. You can do it below it. You can do multiple payments. You can do a $1,500 course over 6 weeks in 3 payments, right? Or you can do a $600 course in 3 payments, right? Or in 2, whatever. Like value, active value delivery. Y una de las razones por las cuales nosotros hacemos hoy en 1 hora, 2 horas después son las 9 aquí, a las 11 de aquí, hacemos core office hours. Es para contestar todas las preguntas que la gente tiene. Y es gratis, ¿sabes? Estamos dando nuestro tiempo gratis to support the community. It's almost like customer service and customer support for our kit, for our product. Tú ya tienes la validación de que has podido alzar tu Instagram followers, has podido lanzar una idea como ponte la corbata desde la conversación que tuvimos en Inglaterra hace 3 años hasta hoy, tú lo has hecho. So you have enough validation. So puedes sacar un producto de 500, un producto de 200 y un producto de $50. Y pueden que sea el mismo producto con menos pedazos a ver qué la gente compra. It's a test. It's a test. Just you put out a test of what would you buy it at this price or at that price? You could even do it like I did it. The way that I did it was the agency in a box kit. Yo ni lo tenía terminado. I actually had been on YouTube for like a year maybe, and like I already had built an audience. Y yo le dije, mira, en un mes, en 30 días, el producto va a estar listo, pero si lo quieren comprar, lo pueden comprar ahora. Y un montón de gente lo compró. Por un montón de gente, no digo 1000, como 4 personas lo compraron. Pero ¿cuánto es 4 por 1000?
Claro.
Son $4,000 en un fin de semana.
Claro.
¿Cuánto tiempo te toma para hacer $4,000 en haciendo como diseñador en Latinoamérica?
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
So that's I don't know if that answers the question on the pricing.
Yeah, it does, because I was thinking about some products can be sold like in 3 different prices. So let's say the basic kit, the medium kit, and the whole thing super big with
la enchilada completa.
Exactly. And that gives you like a great, feedback from your audience, because you see which one performs the best. So yeah, that's a great point. One of the things I have to admit, after our first live stream, we didn't have many eyes watching, and but people afterwards, the few people that watched it, they messaged me so energized. And I have to admit something. After our calls, I always need like 30 minutes to cool down, to come back to earth, because I'm honest, it requires me like such a great effort, to be up there with you guys, because for me, it's such a huge transition, to develop a business from, just content creation, because content creation itself, yeah, it's hard work, but business development is like, that's a whole new game. That's not even the next league. It's a whole new game. Yeah, and I only wanted to share that because it's such, talking to you guys, and I hope the audience gets this as well. It's like an elevation. I don't know, guys. Talk to me about that, because I guess I'm not the only one that has told you that
we're having this whole thing. This is the conversation this week, because we've been talking behind the scenes about how to manage the energy, and like we come on and like get people really excited, and how do we control it. I suffer from it too, but I'll let Keone talk about it. I'll talk about it from my point of view in a minute. I need to get water, so Keone.
Yeah. So I want to just really kind of anchor in the conversation on something that you mentioned, because I think it's really important and super important for your audience. What you're talking about, the content creation, and then you're talking about the actual business model. That intersection is actually branding, right? Branding is where you take the culture and you take the commerce and you marry them together, right? So when you're building content, really what you're doing is you're building an audience. You're building a culture, right? The messaging that you have, the values and the principles that you're talking about, it's like a signal. And people out there, and they'll resonate. And then when you bring it together. So I'm reading this really fantastic book called Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. Oh, and yeah. It's an incredible book. And he talks about the actual biological responses that come from our relationships. And sorry about that. It's actually Oxycontin or Cotin. I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. But it's a chemical signal that happens when we are with people that we connect with, that we value, that allows for us to feel heard and seen, and vice versa, right? So really what you're feeling is this chemical response, and it's the root of relationships, right? It's the root of why cultures, right? We talk about, when you go to a rave or a dance party and everybody is vibing and everybody's dancing to the same beat and right, it's that same feeling. But it's a chemical response. So you have to kind of clear the air after these conversations, Jose, and, we were hanging out with one of our sisters, Monique Mayon, and you know, we're hanging and we're talking literally about this, you know, and Jose, like, he brings out the sage and it's like, oh, we need sage, and you know, and we're lighting it and we're clearing. You know, it's an important thing to like be aware of that high that we get, and it's validation, and it's really really important, but it is a high just like any other chemical high, and to be conscious of that and be able to process it and give time, you know, between meetings and things of that nature, because it can be overwhelming at times.
And self-care, yeah. Y lo voy a hablar de parte mía, de como artista y como creativo. Y cuando yo y Keone somos suficientes, we're both Tauruses, so somos bien sturdy cuando tiene que ver con la energía y con todo lo que está moviendo. Y lo podemos aguantar un poco, pero también nos afecta. Keone mencionó a nuestra hermana Monique Mayón o hermano, y Monique, si la siguen en Instagram, es música y tiene sabe como el flow y la energía que hay que crear para un performance.
Creo que la vi en una de tus stories, ¿no? Hace
Sí,
poquito.
en my stories le estaba dando gracias porque me dio un regalo. Y yo he aprendido mucho de ella, de cómo hacer el flow en el cual hay que montar a la gente y a los grupos como un party. Cuando el party se pone bueno, cuando y el jazz band comienza a tocar y eso, y la energía está, yeah, it's lit, right? Cuando sale, ¿cuál es la diosa en santería? Se me olvidó. Hay una alguien, Pape, en santería, ¿cuál es la diosa que representa chaos and, like, you know, the party at night? Somebody Google that. En Yoruba, es en la religión de África que usan los brasileños. Pero
sí.
y ella sabe cómo hacer eso y controlarlo. Por el punto que tú estás diciendo, que tenernos a nosotros aquí se siente tan elevado, y hemos estado hablando con la comunidad y colaborando con la comunidad, y ellos nos han dado el feedback de que, especialmente la gente joven, de que, coño, tienes que entender que estar en una llamada contigo nos pone nervioso y no queremos Isuzu was. No queremos, we don't want to mess up. Y tenemos ese miedo. Y ese es el miedo que nos da el success. Porque cuando uno se pone así nervioso de que, ay, this is it, this is happening, and we're really excited. Y lo mejor que yo puedo decir acerca de eso, y se lo estoy diciendo a Keone, y me lo estoy diciendo a mí mismo, es que, por ejemplo, para nosotros estar aquí contigo, para mí es un privilegio y me pone nervioso a mí. Imagínate, y tú dices, wow. ¿Y cómo? ¿Y por qué? Porque es tu púlpito, es tu stage, y nosotros respetamos el honor y la relación que tiene tu comunidad, y que aunque sean 25 gente aquí, la semana que viene van a ser 100, y la semana que después van a ser 200, y va a crecer. Y Rosanne está viniendo a nuestro office hours y el viernes y al servicio, y la realidad es que nos estamos preparando para ser famosos, pero la fama no es lo que pensamos nosotros en la fama, como en la televisión, en la farándula. Es una fama que nos toca a nosotros ahora, y digo nosotros ahora como latinos, como jamaicanos, como gente de la diáspora, como Aurelio, nos toca a nosotros ahora, ¿sabes? Pero no es nosotros solamente, es a cualquier persona que tome el inicio a ponerse a hacer contenido online, a dar valor, a amar abiertamente, a cambiar el mundo, como dijo Pape ahora. Eso es nuestro trabajo, y se tienen que entender que lo más famoso que uno es, you have to start living like a rock star. Y no digo parties y bebiendo y eso, yo digo taking care of yourself and going to the spa y masajitos y todo. Porque la razón por la cual ellos tienen que hacer eso es porque tienen que controlar su energía. Y el manejamiento de energía es todo. Todo en la vida, lo que te han dicho tus abuelos, lo que te han dicho en la iglesia, lo que te dice tu mamá, cálmate, come, duerme, bebe agua, todas esas cosas que uno dice, eso son todas las cosas que eso es para vivir bien. Y estamos acostumbrados, lo último que digo, bajo el sistema antiguo, estamos acostumbrados a trabajar duro, a sudar, a sacrificarnos, a que el trabajo es dolor. Y de repente cuando el trabajo no es dolor, cuando estoy en Instagram, aquí en mi casa, haciendo videos, vendiendo un producto, y la gente dice, there's something wrong with that. La gente comienza, la gente latina dice, ay Dios mío, ese tipo está haciendo that person. So Christian, I'll put it in English. That when you start making money online and when you start becoming famous online, like La Corbata and like Alex is becoming famous in Latin America, and like how, Keone, because for me, I started with Chris Do. Chris Do taught me a lot about like, how to contain the boundaries of energy when you're at that scale. And I wasn't ready at the time, and he probably understood it. So I went on the journey to become ready for that. Because remember that the other side of fame, la perdida, uno se pierde en la fama. It can be easy to get lost in the ego can get attached to, mira, do you know who I am? I'm Alex, God damn it. Like, estás en el aeropuerto gritándole a alguien, yelling at somebody, like, and they're like, we don't give a fuck.
Do you know who I am?
We've never seen your Instagram channel. So you have to live your life not only in harmony with your audience, but with every single person, with your brother, with your sister. Like, love becomes real. You can't, be one thing to one person and another. And if you watch people like Chris or people like Gary Vaynerchuk or people like me who started doing this a long time ago, eventually you get the same thing. Everybody seems really zen as fuck, right? Because man, you'd have to deal with the work of like, dealing with becoming yourself and being open about it. And notice my videos on Instagram. My last video was about it's okay to be you. You're not somebody else. And that's to remove the pressure from trying to be somebody else, or from comparing, or from I'm not as famous as, etc. You have to be like completely self-contained energetically, so that you don't get, googly eyes by the famous people that you're going to be interviewing in a few weeks or in a month, or in a year, because you're going to continue to grow, and you just got to manage the energy. And there's nothing wrong. I'm still nervous with meeting people. I'm nervous when I meet Chris Do. I'm like, oh my God, it's Chris Do. I see you on YouTube. And I know him.
I get it. Yeah, that's golden.
There's a couple things that I'd love to add that I think is really important to keep in mind. So there's this thing called Dunbar's number, and it's about 150. And it was a psychologist based out of Oxford who came up with this number. And this number really is about the number of healthy relationships that we can manage. It's 150. So what we have to think are, there are two things that really breaks human relationships, and that's scale and that's abundance. And so when we don't pay attention to those things, we can't split our ability to have relationships into like 2-minute chunks or 30 seconds or, Instagram post or Twitter 140, 200, 320, whatever the character number is now. We can't do that. And so it's very challenging, and we have to maintain the boundaries to protect yourself and your tribe that you can really manage, that you can have healthy relationships with. Anytime you try to scale that, or anytime abundance comes into that equation, it really disrupts your ability to have those healthy relationships. So, so we talk about Chris. Chris is very, very specific about the relationships that he manages in his life, right? And it's because of that, because he knows that he can't scale his ability to have healthy relationships with all of these people. It's impossible, right? And so, there was Path, which was a social network that I mentioned to Jose earlier, that really did that super well.
How do you spell that?
It's PATH.
It's not around anymore.
It's not around anymore.
Okay.
It was around, I think, 8 or 9 years ago. But that was the premise. And that really started like my understanding. In that social network, I was like, wow, I'm really able to connect with my people. Like, I don't feel like I'm frazzled or pulled in all of these different directions like Instagram does, like Twitter does, right? like Facebook does. You know, like if you were to ask someone like, how many friends do you have on Facebook? Oh, I've got 1,200. Well, can you name them? No, they can't, because it's impossible to have relationships at scale. So I think it's just something to remember and keep in mind. That's sort of like the psychological mechanism behind a lot of the, you know, not advice, but the insights that Jose is bringing.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about a couple of things Jose was talking about as well. Of course, I feel nervous before our goals, and you know, that's something. I think it's normal, right? I've come to terms with that. I'm not. I don't feel guilty for feeling nervous. I think that's a great thing, and I'm excited really. But the thing about talking to you guys is, you know, when I talk to other designers, only I can name 2 or 3 other than you that we really talk about deep stuff, because other designers, all they do is talking about the difference between a logotype and an isotype, or I don't know, or whatever bullshit you can think of, and it's really hard, both in English and in Spanish, to find people that really talk about the things that really matter in our industry, or at least in the creative industry. And there is, talking about the energies, there is a comedian I think you'd love, Jose. He's Spanish, from the Canary Islands actually, and he talks about the comedian being a shaman, like a person who drives the energy of the audience, and he says that when he's on the stage, he feels lonely. It's the only place where he finds peace, because that act of exposing himself brings him peace, inner peace. And it's so interesting the way because he's like a maniac on stage, but when he's off stage, he's like the sweetest guy on earth. So it's like this huge contrast where he says, that's not me. When I'm on stage, that's not me, but that's actually the truest me of all.
That's the rock star's ability, right? The performance ability of being on stage. And that is the ritual. So I'll say it in English and in Spanish. I run a Burning Man camp called Node, N-O-D-E. Y el primer año que lo hicimos, teníamos un stage. Y I brought all these props and stages and swords and armor, etc. And I brought all the kids, I call them kids, they're all in their 20s and their 30s. And I brought them on stage, and we did all these performances, and like I understood their stories because I was in the kitchen with them. So I was able, and I had a friend who's an actor, and him and I designed the performative mechanics and dynamics. And the reason I was doing that automatically for myself, I was wearing like, you know, fishnets and like a Navy captain thing, and a little one-piece bathing suit from Brooklyn, from Bushwick. Y todo, como cada artículo de clothing era algo de que yo me sentía incómodo. Por ejemplo, si me sentía incómodo de que la gente pensara que era muy femenino o muy very loving, si me sentía incómodo de mi experiencia working in corporate, like Razorfish, cada artículo tenía un significado. Y cuando estaba on stage, lo que yo estaba haciendo era el exorcismo de la incomodidad de ser un hombre latino al frente de mi gente, la gente más poderosa en mi comunidad, vestido así. Es como, es como los clowns, ¿sabes? Que se visten y they make fun, and then it's okay, then things are okay. Because, okay, everybody saw me in pink fishnets, you know, and in makeup. Everybody, like, you know, ya no, el costume, y después cuando uno se lo quita y está en la vida todos los días on camera, you can be like, yeah, all the things that I judged about myself that I was like nervous about being on camera, I don't really care because I've done everything on stage. So the stage as a ritual, y la razón por la cual nosotros on Fridays we ask people to come up on stage in our calls, and that's one of the reasons why we don't have that many people on our webinars. Like we always have the same amount. It's because people don't want to expose themselves, right? But we ask them to speak, we asked him to get on stage, and people have been sharing more personal stuff and like, you know, really like, and we post these videos on YouTube, even though I haven't posted the last two. That's an energy thing. I'm like nervous about posting it because we're exposing our community.
I know the feeling.
Things, right? And they're like, I don't care, you should post it. So I need to post it. But I still have an energy block to it, and I'm procrastinating around it because I'm concerned of the sensitivity of it. But the whole point of all that is saying this, that if you want to exercise your insecurities, what you're nervous about, whatever you fear, go towards it and do it. Like, just thing that makes you feel like you're going to die, just post it and do it. And if it's not perfect, if it's not, it's okay, because, you know, nobody knows on the internet until they know, and you have time to fix it.
You know, the people that really know me, they know that I take so long, you know, to be myself around new people. It happens to, you know, with you guys, when I have a Zoom meeting with you, I'm like, you know, trying to speak and, you know, forcing myself to get out of my comfort zone, because it's really hard for me. And but when I, you know, when I get confident, you will see. But
no, there is no point. I'm still working on it. No, it's a punto que llega.
But they are all super surprised when they see me on videos, because they are like, how can you do that? You know, you are this shy guy and suddenly you are talking to the camera, and I'm like, I don't know, I developed this, and, you know, I watched my first videos and I've improved so much without even realizing.
Look, it's the process, right? Self-discovery is a lifelong journey. It never ends.
Totally.
Just because you're like, oh my gosh, I learned this about me and this is the way that I am. That doesn't mean that your journey of self-development ends in discovery. It's a constant process. Discovery is a thing that happens your entire life.
Definitely.
You know, and the point that you made earlier where you talked about like designers, that, you know, they just talk about the hard skills, right? And, you know, I've been saying this for a while now, Jose knows it, but that's really a mandate of the 20th century, right? And that's, you know, design for a long time was really an expression of advertising, of marketing. It was a tool to sell. It was a tool for commerce. As we enter the 21st century and technology changed the way that we interact with our customers, with our consumers, with our audience, with our culture, now it's a two-way street. And the real heart of design is actually human skills. It's not hard skills, right? It's not about the great design. There are brands out there that have incredible value. They deliver incredible value, and the design is super subpar. You know, their advertising is really wonky and chunky, and it confuses people because they say, well, how can, I thought it was always about great design. It's not about great design. It's about human connection. It's about the human relationships. It's about a brand's ability to connect and share these values and have this honest relationship with their customers, right? And when they mess up, they're like, oh, I fucked up. And the audience says, that's cool. I understand. We have the same values. Let's work together to figure this thing out, right? So what we're starting to see now is a shift, right? One of the things, and, you know, I realized the reason why I connected with Jose so long ago is because I'm not a classically trained designer. I've got a great eye, you know. My partner who's coming up this week, my old partner, Mato, who's from Ensenada, who's this incredible, you know, brand designer, you know, he always appreciated my ability to like see like really great design and to have like great fine taste. But I've, you know, I can't open up Photoshop. I wouldn't know what the fuck to do, right? Like, I'm not that designer. But I always brought this human ability. I was always looking at the culture. I was looking at the way that we build the relationships, how the values are reflected in, you know, the visual design. And that's how we were able to find success. And that's what I really realized. So, you know, circle
here, Moto's right here. Yeah, keep on going.
Yeah, but to circle back, you know, it's the culture and the commerce. It's really that intersection, right? Design doesn't necessarily have to be a part of it. You know, Jose talks about this all the time, and I totally believe, like, in the future, we can have brands that are designless. You don't really see design. It's an empty package. It's a glass container with your product in it, and there's no logo on it. right?
And that's the branding.
And that's the branding. Exactly.
Well, it's the future of branding is not no branding, is that the human connection is first. And this is being possible by, everybody's talking about NFTs, right? You know, the disintermediation of the value exchange between product and consumer will remove the necessity for graphic design as it is now. I've been preparing and saying I come from the future. I'm trying to tell you what's going to happen so that everybody's ready, right? So the people who waited to watch the video and the 18 people who are here are going to get it right now. But if you really want to make a lot of money, this is the thing that you're going to do. You're going to get over your shit and over thinking that, you know, you're not special and like over being nervous. You're going to basically form an alliance between all the people in your community, the people that are musicians, the people that Monique Mayon, she's a musician and an accountant and an awesome, you know, shaman of her own right. You look at your pirate crew, right? Look at the people around you. Keone is like a polymath. He's an engineer of thoughts and philosophy. He can dance with his mind faster than I can dance, right? So it's your tribe. It's the people that are you, that you love. So put them together into a collective of, you know, services, position yourself as such and say, we're a band of misfits that know how to do all these things, and together we can help you create. So the agency of the future is a culture agency, not a graphic design agency. And the culture agency builds experiences that are three-dimensional. Why do you think I build a Burning Man camp with my friends in the crypto space who also work at Vice, who are also music producers, who also manage this, who also do that? Because we create the culture. And he who creates the culture creates the message. And the message can shape people. Now, if you're doing it for the money, which there's nothing wrong with abundance, but if you start in the assumption that if you build an authentic community of value, the money will come. That's the bottom line. The reason why we can't do that as Latin American people or as people forget about Latin American people, gente en general, la razón por la cual no lo podemos hacer es porque el sistema nos ha separado y nos ha educado a decir, mira, si tú trabajas para mí, te damos dinero. Pero si tú trabajas independientemente, you're on your own. Like, you know, independence and freedom, being a pirate, is really looked down upon. Your family will look at you like, your girlfriends will break up with you because you're not taking a straight job. You know, you make the choice of being an entrepreneur, you're going to be shunned by, it's like leaving the tribe. Y todos tenemos ese miedo de la muerte, de que nos dejen solitos como un bebé y que no nos den comida desde que somos chiquitos. Y ese es el brinco que tú estás haciendo como diseñador y como freelancer o como agencia, es ese brinco. Es que si no, if it doesn't work, you're going to die. But you're not going to die because your community is your value. So the point is, si tú quieres hacer mucho dinero y haces una colectiva y alguien te contrata, necesitas música. Ah, mira, mi amigo que hace música. Ah, mi amigo que es editor de video. Mi amigo que es eso. Pero la persona que hace eso es el agente. The agency. Agency. Personal agency. You're the broker of value. So you then now put together the contract and you have to know how to manage it. Nosotros hablamos cuando estábamos en el teléfono el lunes y tú me mandaste un mensaje, yo no te he contestado y te lo debo, que me preguntaste, dijimos muchas cosas, ¿qué fue lo que dijimos?
Ah, sí.
Y yo tengo que, I have to document it. Hablé con Monique y Monique dijo, ok, júntanos y yo voy a comenzar a documentar los agreements para que podamos ponerlo en papel y saber qué valor estamos dando. ¿Qué es eso? Es un example of a contract, but we're getting ready to the fact that those contracts will soon enough be smart contracts on the Ethereum blockchain. And the whole community can work to do that. And I'm saying that metaphorically, meaning like, you know, that's the future in general. I'm not saying that we're going to be doing that. Maybe we are, maybe we're not. It doesn't matter, but that's where the world is going, right? So with us and the trust that we have, we can say it out loud and say, let's keep our agreements. Here's why. I'm saying that out loud again. Our agreement is that we're going to do these things. We're going to coach you on building your first product. You're going to help us create our social media stuff because we haven't done it for the system as our advisor. You are our advisor and we are your advisor. We're each other's advisor. That's really like the currency, right? Your secret skills are helping us. Our secret skills are helping you, right? That's collective thinking. That is the value of community. And that's the most power that you have from building a broadcaster. Because now you're a pirate with a radio station, you know, broadcasting to the world, not just like you're broadcasting to the whole world. You can unite tribes. You should read the book Snow Crash. Snow Crash gives you, it's fiction, it's cyberpunk, it's super cool. But the main character is this black kid, he's navigating the metaverse and all these things. But everything that he goes on his journey is the world we live in today, even though that's in the future. And the lessons of power from broadcasting are in that book.
Yeah, I write it down. There is someone in my family who is very close to me, and you know, I'm always telling her about how I'm working on this relationship with you guys, and she's like, "Okay, cool, but where's the money?" And I'm like, "Chill, you know. I mean, if I'm able to help 1 million people, I'll get the money. Don't worry about it." And that's my mindset, and that what you just said has resonated so much, you know, with me. You know, all the whole pirate thing.
Yeah. Don't listen to anybody over 30 that doesn't know how to use Instagram.
No, I love her, but I love her, but I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. My ex-wife used to ask me, like, why the hell are you doing this every week on YouTube? Like, you know, focus on your job. No, she didn't say it like that, but I'm being funny. But
yeah.
What are you doing, Keone?
Yeah, man. Look, you know, I have an ex that was like, you could go make six figures working at some powerful agency, you know, being some creative director or some, you know, strategy director. Like, why do you continue to work with startups? Why are you helping out these young entrepreneurs? Why do you keep working in these startup space? There's no guarantee that these companies are going to launch. And for me, it was always like, well, I'm able to build culture at the root level and be a part of something that could transform the world. Like, it's not about the money. It's about the potential for impact. And, you know, I'm going to circle this back, you know, and I mentioned him earlier. Simon Sinek has this great book, Start With Why, and he talks about this, right? We are driven not to make money as individuals, as humans. We're driven to contribute to our culture, right? To our tribe, right? Their tribe will provide the security of resources if what we're doing is from the heart, if it's honest, if it's about real value, right? You know, you talked about, you know, helping, you know, spreading the word, you know, like helping the globe, helping your diaspora, helping your community. It's the same thing that we're driven by, right? And if you look at all of the individuals that have created platforms that have scaled to incredible amounts, for them, what they were always looking at, they weren't driven by wealth. They were driven to try to create a value for a group of people, to scale the value for a group of people. The money will come. The money is always there. And your community will take care of you. And here's the crazy thing. You don't even need a lot. Seth Godin says you need a tribe of 1,000, right? 1,000 people, if you deliver value to them, will provide you enough resources for you to live and thrive. Right. So don't get caught up in the big lights and, you know, be like, oh, I want to be, you know, a Zuckerberg, or, you know, I want to be an Elon. Not everybody's going to be that. Right. And not everybody's going to be the founder that's going to have something crazy. Right. Sometimes you're just going to have a 3-person agency, and that's fine. But the point is, if you are honest and you contribute to your community, there will be a tribe of 1,000 that will allow for you to live a healthy, thriving, creative, sustainable life that's going to give you work and life balance. And that's the goal.
That is the goal. And somebody said, what if you need money right away? And the other question was, what about dishonest clients? And I'll answer those in one-liners or like really quick. Need money right now. What I did when I was starting the school and I needed money right now is I called my brothers, I called my cousins, I called everybody, and we all raised money. I called my friend and he's like, sell everything on your computer. I made the first kit because I needed money to pay the rent. And I had a huge ton of debt. I'm not talking about small, I'm talking about huge ton of debt from my agency. And I had to pay all that stuff. And I figured it out. How? I got on the phone. Getting comfortable asking for money is one of the things that la vergüenza que uno tiene, ay Dios mío, de hablar de dinero, you got to get rid of it. You got to have no vergüenza. And it's not like, por favor, dame algo. It's like, mira, esta es la situación. Estoy aquí, estoy acá. Que me puede, como, y un amigo no te va a mandar cash, pero me puede dar advice, right? O alguien que lo ha dicho en la comunidad. De una vez nosotros podemos hacer eso. Dishonest clients. If you have a dishonest client, or if you have a client that you don't have a connection where you can talk to them like a brother, like you can take them to dinner and have a drink and like say, man, you know, like honest truth, here's my business, here's my thing. I had a client who I actually called up and I said, I need to make payroll. And he paid me what he owed us, his retainer, that day instead of later. So it's really how you negotiate. What you want is on the other side of difficult conversations that you're afraid to have.
And also, I want to say something about that. I'd rather go back to McDonald's and make the money I need right now, rather than working for pennies, doing the work I really want to do. That's because so many people tell me, you know, I have these clients, but they pay me so little, but I'm saying yes because I'm not getting anything better. I always, and I need the money. I always say, why don't you work on something else and try to get clients that, you know, give you the money you think you deserve?
Cash flow management, ¿cómo se hace eso cuando se demoran para pagar? Dos cosas. Uno, los contratos, split them up in smaller chunks, like 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%.
Yeah.
Match your payment schedule to your cash flow and to what your debt cycle is. Don't be a lame contractor like my brother's having a hard time with the guy who's building his house. Because contractors, you give them $100,000 and they spend it on another man's house and then they don't have the money to finish yours. And that's what happens to web designers and to people that do what we do. Ellos hacen eso, le dan un montón de dinero, van, lo gastan, se compran todo esto y después no tienen cash flow. Eso es uno, la disciplina. Dos, el contrato. Como tú estructuras el contrato. Cuando te hacen más grande, los bancos te van a dar dinero. Cuando nosotros crecimos a cierta cantidad, te dan dinero. Pero si yo soy un freelancer y estoy cogiendo un poquito de dinero aquí, un poquito de dinero allá, tienes dos opciones. Uno, renegocia con todo el mundo que tú le debes dinero, que tienes el dinero ahora. O dos, aprende a manejar el cash flow con los contratos y los pagos siendo más pequeños. Tres, cobra más para que tengas cash. Siempre cobra un porcentaje al frente y ten conversaciones bien honestas con todo el mundo en tu comunidad. Yo estoy creciendo mi negocio. Yo soy freelancer. Así es que funciona mi negocio. Lo último que digo para eso, yo comencé a hacer transparent pricing. 100% transparency. Aquí es que ¿cuánto te cobro? Mira, esta es la cantidad que nos cuesta a nosotros para operar cada mes y por eso te estoy cobrando tanto. Y te estoy marcando 100% encima de lo que nos cuesta operar. Y si tú quieres que te enseñe el budget de operaciones, te lo doy. Y yo la relación con mis clientes era una relación de interdependencia. Ellos dependían en mí para poder lanzar sus ideas porque eran startup entrepreneurs y eran gente con dinero o algunos a veces no tenían. Y tenían conversaciones honestas acerca del dinero. Ay sí, master, por favor, págueme. Y esperando para eso. Esa actitud que uno tiene como creativo cuando la gente le están pagando, como que si es un favor de Dios que te den dinero por tu ayuda.
Yeah.
Eso es lo que that's what fucks you up. Eso es lo que no te deja tener buen cash flow. Y nosotros vamos a comenzar a hacer conversaciones de cash flow, de cómo manejarlo. Porque yo estoy diciendo eso y que el dinero viene de la comunidad, y etcétera, pero a la misma vez he tenido que aprender mucha disciplina para poder hacerlo.
No, todos estamos aprendiendo. Todos estamos aprendiendo y mejorando.
Let's be clear.
¿Verdad?
I am the flakiest man in the world. Like, if you're creative and you're like, my mind doesn't work and like, I have all these issues, I am exactly like you. The difference is that I ask for help from my community and I collaborate with people around me. Hey, you're an accountant. Can you help me? I'll help you with this. You know, hey, you're a business person. Help me with business development. And Keone's witnessing it because I'm introducing him to all those people. These are the people that love you, that love who you are, that love you as you are. And the way that you get those people to love you as you are is you love them as they are. Because they're going to be totally different than you. No van a ser creativos, no se van a vestir iguales. you're a master and a baller when all the people around you look like you. Keone and I were sitting around in Venice and we're like, oh shit, this is our tribe. You know, it's like, this house looks just like my house over here and our house. And that's cool when that happens, but you're going to have to work with people that you don't necessarily know their language and trust. Just meet them at the right bar, meet them at the right place. But hey, do you know how to do business proposals? Can you help me? Y déjenme saber si eso hizo la pregunta de cash flow.
Sandoval Solutions is asking, what is this life about? It's about life. What's the key topic? I'm guessing pricing. Not really. The key topic is they are mentoring me to build. I want to build the best community, creative community for the Spanish-speaking audiences. So that's basically the key topic, which is live, universe, you name it.
Yeah.
Y yo quiero contestar esa pregunta para Sandoval Solutions un poco, as it's related to also how Chris Doe facilitates and how Keone and I do it. Los secretos están en la conversación. Listen to listen. Listen to listen. The reason why we do all the like really clear topics, etc., is so that the algorithm picks it up, and it's so that people can keep on watching. But the benefit of listening to us, and we're getting better at being clearer and being on topic, is that what you're looking for is always in the conversation and answering questions. So let me shut up and let's answer questions. But listen to listen. Don't be impatient.
Yeah, you said something the other day on one of your calls. The secrets of the universe are in conversations. Yeah, that's a really good one.
We're too like, what am I getting out of this? I'm busy, which is okay. But if you feel the tribe is like your tribe and you just sit and chill and como viejo jugando dominó nosotros, yo y Keone hablamos de eso y decimos, nosotros queremos hacer negocios como nuestros ancestors, you know. Es de Jamaica, yo soy de la República Dominicana. You don't see those people, the indigenous people, sitting around going, what am I getting out of this conversation? That was the white people that showed up in boats.
Come on, guys. Pregunten lo que quieran.
Siento que estoy hablando con mis amigos a las 11 p.m. bebiendo una cerveza y jugando dominó. That's how business should feel, my friend, Roberto.
¿Te acuerdas, Robert, que lo que estaba diciendo antes, José, que lo que estamos intentando es crear conexiones humanas? No estamos intentando vender, no estamos intentando mostrar todo el mejor diseño del mundo. Al final no es eso, conexiones humanas.
The currency is love. Well, the currency is connection. And love
I don't know if you were the one who said this. In my head, you are. But I watched like one of the old school videos, and I remember you said something like $1, one thank you. And that resonated with me. I don't know if it was you. In my mind, it was you.
What was it that I said?
You said $1 is one thank you. So the economy of thank you. I don't know. Huh?
I think that might be Gary Vaynerchuk.
Could be.
Yeah, he wrote the Thank You Economy, the book.
All right, true. Then I'm messing up.
I read that book, the Thank You Economy and Jab, Jab, Right Hook. Those were the things that gave me a lot of confidence to do the online stuff. Gary Vaynerchuk is amazing. I don't follow him. I don't follow anybody. I follow Keone, what he says. And I follow you.
Yeah, thank you for that. But I think Gary is such an interesting character. I think we can dedicate a whole live stream to him because I don't agree with everything he says, but I think we can learn so much from him.
He's very much a manifestation of the 20th century, but he is definitely shifting. As of late, like when I was younger and I was in my very evil businessman mode, I was like, yes, go, money, grind. But, you know, I started to make a shift and I started to really understand who I was and the value that I wanted to deliver. And I wasn't driven by wealth and money and accumulating all of this stuff. I was driven by the ability to create culture and to build these like really authentic relationships And branding was this incredible way for me to be able to do that and get paid for it and to play in the creative space. So once I started that journey, and really started to understand that it's about the human skills, not the hard skills. It's about connection. It's about having this right here. This thing that we're doing right now, this is real branding, right? The conversations and the preguntas from the audience, right? This is the real connection that we're having. And so I really wanted to invest more in this space and understand how to create more opportunities and containers for us to be able to build things like this. He's shifted as of late. He's definitely toned down his talk, and he's focusing more on the human side of things, which is really great to hear.
Because he's getting older and he's also having problems at his company with his culture.
Because scale, right? Like I said, when you scale things like and abundance, right, that breaks human relationships. And you can't maintain human relationships like you used to be able to. He's dealing with that problem, and now he's realizing the whole time that he should have been focused on the human skills versus the selling and the money and the da-da-da-da-da. But yeah.
Eso es otro secreto que nosotros estamos haciendo. Yo estoy pensando que ponte la corbata es our confessional. La razón por la cual nosotros, estoy confesando que una de las razones por la cual nosotros estamos haciendo We Are the System, que es en YouTube y preguntaron, es porque lo que nos hemos dado cuenta es que el sistema y el modelo que nosotros estamos diciendo no existe y la gente no tiene demostración de eso, de cómo hacer negocios humanos, etcétera. La pregunta de Sandoval, léela, venga la sentencia, léela, Alex, la pregunta de Sandoval.
What non-fiction books have you each read in the last 90 days towards this craft? Have you all read lately? Not me, to be honest.
Okay, dale, Keone.
Okay, so I've gone through all of Simon Sinek's books. So The Infinite Game. So let's start at the beginning. I'll start with the ones that I think that are most important. Infinite Game by Robert Karse. And really what he's talking about is being able to look at the world from a perspective of play and to get out of the finite game, right? Which is, the finite game is where you're driven for like money or houses or, you know, it's about things, opposed to the infinite game, which is about experience and the ability to share it with others, and to enjoy that experience in a perpetual basis. So that's the infinite game. Then I read The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, which is how he aligns it within the context of business and business development. Then I read Start With Why, which is another really powerful book. I've then read Find Your Why, because, you know, I wanted to see how he was doing it, because it's something that we're doing. And it was something that we were doing before I even started with that. So like I brought in a whole bunch of other things. I brought in, what is it? The Hero's Story. And then Story by Robert McKee that Jose gave me. Now I'm on Leaders Eat Last. And what is this thing? It is Personality and Identity, right? So I'm diving into all of the mechanisms of psychological development, of cultural development, and how we share them through stories and myths, right? And how those stories really create the containers for us to be able to have like relationships, right? Like all of this stuff that Jose has been talking about, all of the values and the principles that he's talking about, he's like his own broadcaster. He's signaling and he's just out there and like, look, you responded to the signal, right? And you're like, oh, okay, I resonate with you. Let's connect. Let's talk. Doesn't necessarily mean that we were going to do something, but you instantly felt like you were part of this tribe, right? It's like when we see the dudes with the red hats. We know what that red hat means. You see them a mile away and you're like, oh, I know what you're about. I'm going to go that way, bro. You know? That's
Are you
culture,
talking about
right?
Shriners or are you talking about Crips?
I was talking about MAGA, but...
Oh, you're talking about Trump. Okay.
Yeah,
but
and
you
I mean,
guys
and
with the red fezzes.
And they want you to know, and they want you to know.
Exactly, right? That's the power of
We
culture.
have a
That's
secret
the power of
signal,
story.
and we don't share our secret signal, actually.
Yeah.
And that's because when we know it means something to all of us, but we don't share what it is. Only the ones who know. My book is Flow, the Psychology of Optimal Experience. There's two things really cool. The transformation of time, how to master time and make it disappear. And it's really the key element of an optimal experience is that it's the end in itself. Meaning, we're not doing this talk to get something out of it. The experience itself is enjoyable. That's the whole truth with cigars. Eso los viejos jugando dominó. Ellos nada más están jugando dominó para jugar dominó. Because they like each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an amazing book if you haven't ever read it. Y lo que yo hago es, yo mezclo, I'm DJing my books. Yo mezclo un libro esto es de psicología, otro libro de espiritualidad, con un libro, el libro que me ha influenciado más, que fue lo que lanzó todo esto, era A Whole New Mind, Why Right Brainers Will Own the Future, by Daniel Pink. Cuando leí ese libro, yo dije, wow, eso fue lo que me inspiró para hacer esto.
I think we can end with that. Now, let's wrap it up. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
And I'll see you in a bit now.
Peace, y'all. Paz.
Bye. Bye-bye.